Welcome to CrossPoint Online. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Tina. If you are a first-time guest, drop a comment, let us know. Go to the app, crosspointonline.net, and let us know there so we can donate in your name.
Yeah, and if you're not a first-time guest, we would love for you to share this stream.
Yes, tag lots of people. Tag
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Give her lots of notifications. Tag your coworkers, your
Yeah. Anybody.
family that doesn't live here.
Yeah. Today's message is really good, worth sharing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So our guest speaker is Teresa Flores.
Yeah.
Last service, I'd said she'd been here before. Then during the service, I remembered Chad, a couple years ago, had passed out magnets.
Oh.
Tell me,
okay.
yeah,
Magnets? Okay.
yeah.
But they did a Zoom call with her, so you probably saw her face before.
There we go.
And then we went to Tampa with her, and then we went to the Derby.
Yes, and we're going back to the Derby.
Yes.
So pay attention in the service how you can get involved.
Yes, and please do. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's
It's powerful.
It is powerful.
And if you need any help,
Reach out to one of us.
yeah, absolutely, on Facebook or if you have our number. And drum roll for the exciting news.
Yes.
Guess who's coming back?
Next week, Chad's going to join us.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
We miss you, Chad.
Yes.
A whole lot.
Yes, yes. Okay, what's your joke?
Why do we tell actors to break a leg?
I personally do not ever say that, but why?
Because every play has a cast.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good right there.
Yes. And also, I hope we'll figure out there's lots of soap gear for
products.
sale. So
Yeah.
sit back, relax, enjoy the service.
Good morning and welcome to CrossPoint. We're going to do something a little different this morning. We're going to start off with a little moment of silence and prayer individually for what's going on in the Ukraine. And if you guys don't know, we do have a personal connection to the Ukraine through Chad. Chad and Kimberly, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but they have done work over there for an orphanage, and so they have a adopted daughter that lives in the Ukraine and is still in the capital. And again, I'm going to say it wrong. I think Nayla or they've told me I said it wrong first service, so now I'm self-conscious about it. So if you guys would, join me in a moment of prayer and silence for what's going on over there. Amen. Thank you guys for doing that. And if you guys would, just keep them in your thoughts and prayers throughout the week. Today, if you're joining us online or at East End, thank you so much for being with us. If it's your first time here in the room or even online, we would love for you. There's some cards. You guys can fill out a card and at the table or take it to the table, or you can fill it out right there on the chair. And then also, if you can go to the CrossPoint Now app and you can fill out a first-time guest form there. We're going to start a little different again. Tyler and Maddie, if you guys want to come on up. This is Tyler and Maddie Hodge, and if you guys don't know, they've been serving as our pastors to family with students for about 1.5 years, I think. You guys go ahead and step up. Don't be scared. Traven's not going to bite you. It's fine. They've been serving for about 1.5 years, and a couple weeks ago, Tyler announced that he would be resigning because Maddie had accepted a job in Wilmington, Ohio. And so today is actually their last Sunday. And so Traven has a little gift for you, and you guys can actually open it this time. We weren't going to let them open it the first service since we could give it again second service. And so we're thankful for the relationships that you guys built. And I hope you guys know that all of us here are praying for you no matter where you go. And so yeah, so we're thankful for you. And why don't you guys give them a hand? Yeah, awesome. And then today also, Teresa Flores is with us, and she is the founder of the SOAP Project. And so Jade and Emily are going to come up, and they are going to tell us what SOAP is.
Good morning.
Hi, guys. I'm Jade.
And I'm Emily.
And we actually are the co-leaders for the SOAP chapter here at CrossPoint. And Emily and I actually met last year, right before the Super Bowl. We met in Tampa, and we were on the same team. And it's been an honor to be able to work for this chapter and to do what we're doing in hopes of just saving at least one person.
Yeah, absolutely. When Jade and I met at the Super Bowl, I did not know, I had no idea that Jade and I would be then leading a chapter here at CrossPoint. So that was a huge surprise. One from the Lord, right?
Absolutely.
When he calls you, he just calls you. And one of the biggest impact for me going to the Super Bowl is like, how could little old Emily do something for a problem that's so big and seems so over my head? And SOAP Project gives you exactly that, is a tangible thing that you can do to fight against human trafficking. And what we know is that human trafficking is the second leading crime in the U.S. And events like the Super Bowl, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the Derby, events like this that bring in a lot of tourism also bring in opportunity for human trafficking and increase the demand. And so the SOAP team, what their mission is they mobilize volunteers, they bring education to hotel staff, and ultimately they take the human trafficking hotline number and put it on a bar of soap in hopes that a victim will receive that bar of soap and some hope for something else.
Absolutely. And it's an incredible thing to just be able to be a part of something like that with such an amazing mission. And Teresa is just incredible, and her story is so inspiring. And I know for me, just hearing the impact, from these ladies who have gone through this, and the men too, I feel like as somebody who's been through a sexual assault, it becomes very real when you start hearing these stories of how easily it could have happened to me or to somebody else that I know. And so we're so grateful to have her here today. I know that there's going to be a short clip here from Tampa, actually. So if you guys just want to watch that.
All right.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're so glad you guys are with us today, whether you're joining us here in the room or online in Easton. We invite you guys to stand and sing with us as we worship this morning.
Let praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. Let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We sing your name in the dark and it changes everything. We sing with all we are and we claim your victory. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We'll see break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. We cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, let faith be a song that overcomes the raging sea. Let faith be a song that calms the storm inside of me. Let it rise. Let faith arise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. We cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, this is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. We cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. We cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh.
everybody. I'm so excited to be able to welcome and introduce our guest speaker for today, Teresa Flores. Teresa is a survivor of human trafficking. She was trafficked at the age of 15 from her suburban home. She is an activist and a modern-day abolitionist who works to set modern-day slaves free, especially minors from sex trafficking. She is an internationally sought-after speaker. A movie has been made based upon her story. She has been on Nightline, on several other well-known television programs. Teresa not only has done that, but she has worked to raise awareness and even change laws to help bring an end to childhood prostitution. In fact, she's the founder of Saving Our Adolescents for Prostitution Soap. And that is her organization that we're partnering with for the Kentucky Derby. We are, as far as I know, the first soap chapter in Kentucky, and we get to work with her and Farmdale Church of Nazarene to again soap the Kentucky Derby. And we'll put labels with a hotline on soap and makeup remover and train hotel staff to be aware of the red flags. And just like she saw happen in the Super Bowl a few weeks ago, every time she does this, somebody who thought they would never be reunited with their family is found again. And I truly believe this is an example of what Jesus meant when he prayed, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And so it's an honor to have Teresa. Would you help me welcome her today?
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I am from Columbus, Ohio. Don't hold that against me. I am not an Ohio State Buckeye fan, but I travel all around the country sharing my story and trying to raise awareness about this issue. You see, for a long time, I didn't know what happened to me was called human trafficking. I knew it was something horrible, something indescribable, but I didn't know the words to use for it. And I think for a long time, because of that, I didn't get the healing that I needed. I sought out people to try and help me with this. And I couldn't find anybody that was qualified to even just listen to me. And so I really relied heavily on the Lord at that time. And that is really just what got me through. And then it was when I was 40 years old, I went to a conference on human trafficking. I had a coworker, amazing Christian woman, and she said, I signed up for this conference and I can't go to it. And she said, and the Lord is telling me that you need to be there. It was on human trafficking. And I was a medical bilingual social worker. And I thought, well, this is pretty interesting. I think that I should go and hear this. And she did not know anything about my story. And so for about 2 weeks, every time I turned around, somebody was trying to book me to go and do something on that day. The kid's dentist said, we need to see Trey here on this date. Nope, sorry, busy. So we got this important meeting. Nope, sorry, busy. And it was like everything was trying to stop me from being there. And I was like, what is going on? And I woke up that morning, and I said, okay, everybody, you got to get up on time. You got to get to school. Mommy's got someplace really important to be. And I had no idea what this was about. And my son was like, oh, Mom, my ear hurts. I'm like, too bad you're going to school. And I felt a little guilty driving there. And within 5 minutes of sitting in that seat, I realized why I was supposed to be there. The head of the CIA was on stage, and he was talking about the definition of trafficking and that we don't hardly ever get to see the survivors. And tears started to come from my face. And I thought, oh, my gosh, that's me. It was like one of those aha moments, right? And then I thought, wow, if I don't know that I was trafficked, and here I am, I lived it for 2 years. Here I am, I'm 40 years old. I have a master's degree in counseling. Then how many others don't know this too? And God has a plan for each and every one of us. And sometimes it's pretty frustrating trying to figure out what that plan is. But at that moment, I knew exactly what that plan was that he had for me all along. It was that moment. And I decided that I was going to find my voice after all these years. And I was going to tell people about this and change laws, like Pastor Chad said. I can't even begin to explain to you what that journey has been like. Pastor Chad has actually been on that journey with me for quite a long time. So today I'm going to explain to you a little bit about human trafficking. I want you to leave here and know how to talk to somebody about human trafficking. This is the second leading crime in the United States. Does that surprise you? Yeah. And you know why? Because we don't talk about it. This is not on the nightly news or in the paper every single day, and it needs to be. We talk about our drug problems in the community, right? We need to talk about this every day. Have that become, unfortunately, a common term to be able to take on this battle, this huge battle. So let me go to the first slide. Now, a lot of people, when they find out I was a trafficked victim, they say, oh, where were you taken to? What country? And I said, none. I was trafficked right out of my very own home and my very own community, all right? We assume that if you're American and you are trafficked, you are taken, right? Like the movie, and you were kidnapped. How many of you have ever seen on your Facebook page, somebody posts something about a white van at Walmart, right? Don't let your kids go there today. Someone's gonna snatch them, right? Now, really kidnapping is about 3% of the situations on how somebody gets trafficked in the US, all right? But we do know there are hundreds of thousands of kids being trafficked in our country. Did you hear what I said? Hundreds of thousands of children. A few years ago, the state of Texas said that they are pretty certain about 79,000 children are being trafficked in their state. Dang, right? So even 3% of that number is pretty high, all right? So it can happen, all right? But most of the time, someone that's trafficked is by somebody they know, all right? This number is a little low, 35%. We believe it's 40 to 45% now of all people that are trafficked by a family member. Wow, that's tough. These are the people who are supposed to protect you and love you and be there for you. And I'm not just talking inner city minority, right? I'm talking rural areas is where mostly we see this one at, right? A survivor whose father was in a civic club and trafficked her to all of the members in it. A young girl told me in school one time that her mom used to sell her to the landlord to pay the rent. Wow, you know? This is happening by grandparents, uncles, aunts, moms, and dads, a lot of times for drugs, right? But this is happening a lot. And I'm really certain that the survivors that we work with that have been trafficked by family members, they really have the hardest time of recovery. Because once they get out of that situation and they leave that family, right, they have nobody. They have a 40-year-old survivor, and we got her a birthday cake and threw a birthday party for her. She never had a birthday party, right? So many times they're working, but they don't have anybody to call to say, hey, I need some new tires. Can you help me out, right? And so the recovery is crucial to this and very, very tough. And then 62% of survivors, like myself, got trafficked because of somebody they met that told them everything they ever wanted to know. They made them feel beautiful. They made them feel loved, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. I came from a really nice upper middle class family. I have 3 brothers. I had a mom and a dad. I wasn't molested. I wasn't a runaway. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't promiscuous. But none of that exempted me from what was going to happen to me. We moved around every 2 years because my dad worked for General Electric, a big company, and every 2 years he got promoted and transferred all over Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. And while that's fun as a kid, as I got older, that got tough because I was always the new kid. I was always trying to fit in. I just wanted people to like me. Please be my friend. And the other thing that made me really vulnerable of why I was trafficked was that I didn't have community. I love that about this church, CrossPoint Community Church. The lack of community is the number one way victims get trafficked. And I, even though we were rich, did not have community. I didn't have aunts and uncles and grandparents that lived in town to be like, Teresa, something's different. I didn't have teachers that knew me all along to say, you're acting a little different. I didn't have doctors, right, that knew me since birth. I don't have a friend that I've known since kindergarten, right? But that was just my life. Nobody knew what was going to happen to me, right? And so we moved the middle of my 9th grade of high school, and we moved to outside of Detroit, Michigan. Really upper class, fast paced. Everybody was richer than I was. They all wore Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. You remember those? I really wanted those. And Candy's shoes. My dad would not let me have those kinds of shoes, right? And so my dad was really strict. They were super, super strict with me. At least I thought they were strict. I could not date until I was 16 and knew how to drive a car. I'm not sure why that mattered, but I could not date until I could drive a car. And so I hated that rule, hated it, but it was the rule. And looking back, it was a pretty good rule. So we moved to this new place, and I'm the outsider, and I just want friends. And pretty soon, a boy came up to me, and he said, you're really pretty. And he followed me from class to class in my school. He said, your hair looks nice today. I like that blouse on you. And he just gave me compliments, and he made me feel special. It was that easy. He made me feel special. But my friends noticed, and they said, no, if you want to be in our group, you can't date somebody in that group. And I just really wanted friends, so I'm like, okay. And he tried to call my house. My father answered. He said, nope, Teresa, you're 15. You can't date boys, you can't talk to them on the phone yet. I thought it was cruel. So 6 months go by, and he's always there. And one day, after school, I went to my locker, and guess what? Now, you teenage girls, you ladies, you know what that feels like when that cute boy is right there, and you're like, oh, there he is. And he said, Teresa, would you like a ride home from school today? Now, here I am, 15. I have a crush on him, but I'm not allowed to like him. What do you think I said? Oh, heck yeah. This is great. It's not a date, right? So we go out to his car. It was a brand new black Trans Am. Remember that car? And I thought, this is great. Getting in this hot car with this hot guy. We go and we pull out of the parking lot of the high school, but he turns the wrong way. And I was like, I live over here. And he said, I know, but I need to go home and grab something I forgot. Now, I had that warning flags. My parents had had lots of conversations with their only daughter. But I thought, Teresa, you're being silly. You know this boy. You go to school with him. It's not a stranger. You go to the same church as he does. It's fine. So I ignored those red flags. We pull up to his house, which was huge. And he said, hey, you want to come in? I just got to grab something fast. And that day I said everything that my parents had always taught me to. I said, no, my mom's at home waiting for me. I need to get home. But after all these months of compliments, my life changed with 3 words. He said, I like you. That was all it took. I was like, oh, okay. And I went in. I believed the good in everybody. Unfortunately, all those red flags that I didn't listen to were correct. That afternoon, I got drugged and I got raped. And I went home that afternoon devastated. You see, in my religion, in my family values, we had valued virginity until you got married. It was really important to my parents and me. And I decided I wasn't going to tell my parents. And it was a wrong decision. Because if I had told them, I probably wouldn't be here today. But I decided that I wasn't going to say anything because I thought they'd be angry with me, that I disobeyed them and I went with this boy. I thought they'd be mad at me and disappointed and think of me as dirty because I was no longer a virgin. And I kept quiet, and I should not have. Because several days later, he came back up to me at school with an envelope full of photos. Today, this would be sexting. And I was blackmailed for 2 years to service men that they brought to me and took me to for 2 years over and over again so that I would earn back these photos or else. They threatened me with these. They told me that they would kill my brothers if I told anybody. It was violent. It was horrible. And I had no idea how to get out. Probably the worst part of it is that people saw signs and nobody did anything. Probably people thought, oh, somebody else will take care of this. And I don't know what she was like before. Maybe this is who she is. And nobody helped me. Go to the next slide. The reality of human trafficking in our country is that the woman or girl or boy has to have sex with 10 to 15 men every single night. This is 365 days of the year. There's no vacation time, no sick time, all right? She has a 40% higher chance of death than any of you in this room. Most likely, she will die of murder from the buyer or the pimp, who's a trafficker, overdose, or suicide because she has no idea how to get out of this. We really concentrate on looking for minors who are being trafficked because we know that if we don't recover them as a minor, they have a 77% chance of becoming an adult prostitute. If we don't rescue them, they will become involved in the court systems, arrested over and over again, the social service systems. She'll get pregnant. She won't be able to be a good mom. Her kids will get taken away. She'll be in and out of the emergency room, right? The recovery. It's horrible, the amount of services that will be involved, but yet not help her. She will develop PTSD, like what veterans from war have, that level of PTSD. Stockholm syndrome and depression, the medical needs are off the chart, the physical needs. This is very, very violent, all right? And most likely, she won't be rescued. That's very daunting, the fact she will not be rescued most likely. I'm lucky, I'm blessed, because I can stand here and tell you, no matter what happened to me, I was rescued. I was rescued right out of it. Go to the next one. This is why I dedicate my life to doing this. I travel all over the place because once I found my voice, I also discovered this girl on the upper left-hand corner. Her name is Grace. She's 15. She could be any of the young girls here at this church. She's just precious. Unfortunately, Grace never got to know God's grace. These are all pictures of Grace from the time she was 15 in the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner where she was 17 and died shortly after this photo. Just let that sit with you for a moment. 15 to 17. She was a baby, one of God's creations. And yet, we think of prostitution as something people choose to do. Nobody would choose to do this. Can you all agree that somebody did this to her? Yeah. People think of prostitution as the oldest profession in the world. Does it look like a profession here or an oppression? What do you think that she's going through, she's experiencing? Drug use? Yeah. These traffickers will get them addicted to drugs so they can control them. Poor hygiene, probably hasn't taken a shower in weeks. Hasn't eaten a regular meal in days. Being beaten up. Do you feel the despair? Sheer despair. That is why I do the Soap Project, because of Grace. Because nobody reached out to her and said, "Can I help you?" Nobody said something so simple, "Can I help you?" Why can't we do that? I had my neighbor see me several times, many times, at midnight, running through his backyard in my pajamas to go meet that car because I would be in big trouble if I didn't. My neighbor never said anything to my parents. Had he, I might not be here today. No coach called my mom to say, hey, Teresa's missing a lot of track practices. No teachers, no school nurses. None of them said anything to my parents. And that's why this has become the second leading crime in the United States. Go to the next one. I want to show you another reason why it's gone to the second leading crime. So these are the 5 components of what human trafficking is, all right? This is all it is, right? Plain and simple. So let's break this down for you. Let's start with the exploiter, the trafficker. A trafficker can be a parent, like we talked about, a family member. It can be a woman. Most times it is a man, an older man. And we don't know a lot about the exploiter, the trafficker, the dirtbag, right? Come on, let's be honest, right? We don't know a lot about him, but we do know that he does not value human life. Can we agree on that? Right? Right? And so he knows there's low risk to becoming caught. How many times do we see in the newspaper or on the not too often, unless there's a big sting, right? Which just happens like a couple times a year. So he knows he has high rewards and low risk to this. Did you know the average pimp makes $300,000 a year tax-free from one victim? And he usually has more than one, right? He has a higher chance of getting arrested for drug trafficking than he does human trafficking. What does that say about the laws and priorities in our country? So he knows he's probably not going to get caught, but he's going to go find a recruiter or a groomer to do his dirty work just in case. So he finds somebody, usually a boy, sometimes another female, to say, hey, go find me some victims. Now, I hate to admit it, but there is no amount of soap in this country that will rescue all the amounts of victims that we have out there. You know, we're just winging it, right? One by one. But it's like that starfish story, right? Where the little kid picks up the starfish all these starfishes are on the beach. And he picks up the one and he throws it in the ocean. And the dad is like, why bother? Look at all the other ones. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. And the little boy said, it did to that one. And that's why we do soap, because it made a difference to just that one. So we do try to get and recover these victims, but there's so many. Since biblical times, we've had sexual slavery. Unfortunately, there will always be victims. Doesn't mean we can't try, though, right? Now, the other component is the customer, right? They don't have to go looking for the customer comes looking for them. Back page, online, street prostitution, hotels, motels, everywhere you can see this at, all right? So many customers. If there weren't so many customers, I wouldn't have so many victims, would I? Imagine that. The only way to stop human trafficking is to go after the demand for it. The demand for sex for sale is huge in our country, and it increased over the pandemic as well. Increased exponentially, right? If we didn't have the demand for sex for sale, we wouldn't have the victims, and the traffickers would make no money off of this. The demand, unfortunately, is men. The majority of it is men who are buying sex from people. And somebody's going to supply that, and that's the trafficker. That's what human trafficking is in our country. So my favorite parable is the parable about the shepherd who has 100 sheep. And the story goes that he loses one sheep, right? And the question to him that he's proposed with is, what do I do? Do I leave those 99 and search for that one? Is it worth it? And what's the answer? Yeah, he does. He does. We know the ultimate shepherd is our Lord Jesus Christ, right? We know that. But I was given the opportunity to go from sheep to shepherd. What a blessing that's been. God had a plan for me, and he took me from that moment of being that long lost sheep where I felt nobody else could possibly understand what I was going through. Nobody else was experiencing what I was experiencing. And he took me from that lost sheep to a shepherd. And he had a message for me. That's what I realized at that conference. He had a really, really important message for me. And that message was for me to give this to you today. That he wants you to be shepherds too. Anybody can be a shepherd. And we need to save these sheep. You see, there's a wolf. We all know that, right? We're in church. There's a wolf. And the wolf's job is to separate us from the shepherd, from Jesus. And that separation, that wolf, can look like addiction, drugs, pornography, sex. It can look like the lies that we tell people, the deception, anything. That wolf is good at what he does, doesn't he? We know in our hearts that the shepherd will always win. But these wolves, at this time right now, it seems like they're winning. Because these wolves are telling our girls, you're beautiful. I love you, you're special. They're telling these girls the things that their fathers aren't. And that's what we need to change. God said that men are the head of the household. I think we've forgotten that. I love the book Called a Wild, right? Where we're calling men to step back up. But how do we call men to step back up when men are the ones causing the problem? Maybe it's time to have some courageous conversations within church, everywhere, in our schools, everywhere. God also called men to protect, to be a protector, right? Very, very important. I met Pastor Chad 10 years ago this month. I met him in Cincinnati. He was at the Freedom Center. And he said, I want to help. I want to help do this. And I want to help bring men to you to help find these victims. And I said, I would love nothing more. As a survivor, that just makes my soul happy. So he put a call out to his church. I think it was Beaver Creek, Ohio. And he called men to step up and not just be a shepherd, but stop being part of the problem. And he brought 200 men to Indianapolis for the Super Bowl in 2012. There were fathers with their sons sitting there labeling soap, hearing my story, and going to hotels to try and rescue those sheep. There were men that confessed on the moment that they had addiction problems and that they needed help. Wow. I mean, that's God's work right there, right? So when I'm talking about shepherds, I'm talking about a really, really special role. Shepherds used to be seen as the dirty people, right? The lowly people. But they were very humble. And God knew that. And an angel came to a shepherd to give a message, right? An angel came to a shepherd. She could have picked anybody, but she picked a shepherd, a lowly shepherd, to give this message to, that the Lord was coming. So shepherds are messengers as well. But they have a very special role. If you look up what a shepherd does, shepherds were men, right? They were men. Their job, their role, was to bring medicine, bandages, and to care for the sheep to keep them whole, to keep them whole at any price. That was their job. They sacrificed to be able to keep those sheep whole. Does that sound like a parent to you, maybe? Their goal was not to keep them comfortable, but it was to heal and protect that sheep. The other word for a shepherd is a pastor. And I believe that Pastor Chad is a shepherd. A pastor's job, as is a shepherd, is to lead his sheep to pasture. We all know what the pasture is, don't we? But somehow we got derailed in being the head of the household, derailed from being the shepherd, and the wolves took over. They built up walls, and it's time to break down these walls. I'm calling each and every one of you men to stand up and be the head of your household, to tell your daughters they're beautiful, right? To protect your family. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to that morality, right? Can we dictate morality? We can sure try. We need to be able to do something because these guys are winning. This is the second leading crime. What's going to happen when your children have children? I'm really, truly afraid of that. It's time to have those courageous conversations with our children, right? Our sons, are they playing Grand Theft Auto Vice game? The worst video game out there. Did you know that you can buy a prostitute, go in the car with her, get lucky, get your money back, and kill her, and your lifeline goes up? You can go to a strip club and get a lap dance, and 10-year-old kids are playing this game because we're not paying attention, right? That game used to be about killing cops and stealing cars, and each year they bring another edition out, and it's worse and worse and worse. We need to get better at this. We need to let our guard down and talk to one another. We need to be Aunt B again. Remember Aunt B? She knew where everybody was. She knew everybody's business. And I'm sure you got some Aunt B's in Maysville, right? Right? But it's okay. It's good to be an Aunt B, right? We put a negative feeling on like, oh, Aunt B, she's all nosy. No, but if my child comes up missing, I'm going to Aunt B first, right? We have put up fences. We don't want to get into each other's business, but maybe we should. Teenagers out there, all right? If you're going through something horrible, find somebody to talk to. Even if you're not going through something, I want you to start to think right now about who can I trust? Who can I go to tell anything? It might not be your mom and dad. Maybe it's an auntie. Maybe it's your pastor. Maybe it's a teacher. But think about that now, because if something ever does happen, I want you to have that one person that you know that you can go to and talk to. That's really important. I didn't have that. Let's talk about social media. This is the number one way kids are getting trafficked. Do you know who they're talking to online? Do you know their password on their cell phone? Do you know all of those little apps on their cell phone, right? Chatting in chat rooms is the number one way these kids are getting trafficked. Facebook, Snapchat. They're being pressured to take nude pictures of themselves and send it. This is their new normal. This is not normal to me, and it should never be normal, right? We need to bring morality back because the wolf is winning. We have to talk to our kids about what a pimp is, you know? My son was in a baseball group, and they were all over. He had a birthday party, and so he had 10 boys over. That was the last time I did that. And all 10 boys came over, and I'm serving up pizza, and I hear one of them say, yo, that was a pimpin' move. Dog, you were pimped out. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They didn't know what I do. And I said, boys, what is a pimp? And they got quiet. But one of the boys, the older boy, he's pretty worldly, said, I know, Miss Flores. A pimp is a guy that makes girls do things for him and he gets the money. Pretty darn right. So the other boys were like, wow, they never thought of a pimp as that. They hurt, and I said, they will hurt the person if they don't give them the money. So a couple days later, we're at baseball practice. I'm sitting in my camp chair. I'm reading my newspaper. The boys are in 2 lines throwing baseballs back and forth to each other. And somebody says, yo, that was a pimp and throw. That boy hadn't been at my house, all right? And all the boys stopped, and they said, we don't use that word. And I was like, yes. It's those teachable moments. When you're at the grocery store, and somebody says, hey, what did you do today? What did you know? Tell them. I tell you, there's a lot of times I'm on a plane going somewhere, or I'm at a grocery store, and somebody says, so what do you do for a living? I was like, oh, you really want to know? You really don't want to know. And there was times when I was tired, and I didn't want to tell people. And I'm like, do I lie? And just say, oh, I'm just a social worker, you know? And so I was started to say, I'm an author. And I was like, duh. Oh, what do you write? Oh, gosh, you know? And I tried everything to just take a break and not tell people what I do. And then my husband quickly reminded me, that's why you do it, is because you now have your voice, and you owe it to God, because he rescued you. You have to tell people what you do. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And now I tell people everywhere I go what I do. Is it exhausting? Do people look at me negatively sometimes and be like, oh my gosh, that's such a horrible situation? Talk. Yeah, they do. But I don't care. Because what happens sometimes one time when maybe that person's daughter has something happen to her? Yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible, tough topic. But it's something that we have to talk about because the wolf is winning. I work with survivors as well, hundreds of survivors. We call each other survivor sisters. And now we have a community, all right? And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. A part of the SOAP project, besides rescuing and bringing awareness, we also have retreats, healing retreats for survivors to come together, right? And bond and be a community for each other, to heal, to learn about what Christ can do in our life, right? A lot of them don't know banking skills, right? They're afraid of money. A lot of them don't know how to have a healthy relationship. How can you possibly think about getting married and having sex again when that was your foundation? So we talk about those things. We talk about forgiveness, wow, and trust. So at our table out here, we have a little giving tree. We're having 70 survivors come on retreat with us in April, and we need lots of supplies. We're sending 20 of them on an Amtrak train all together to come to the retreat. So we could really use your help. We also have it on an Amazon wish list as well. It takes a lot. The budget for this retreat is $54,000 for 70 survivors. Is it worth it? Heck yeah, it is. And this spring, we're actually going to be having the first ever all-male survivor retreat. Wow. Yeah. 20% of these victims are men. So I'm calling you to action today. God has had this on my heart for a long time. What can we do? Besides rescuing them, helping them heal, maybe we can start from the beginning. And we can have courageous conversations. And we cannot be a part of the demand, right? That's the beginning part. If we can attack that part, then we don't have to do the rest. So I'm calling you to love your children every day and tell them that. They're not going to be vain, all right? Tell them they look pretty. I'm calling you to no longer be silent about this. Let's talk about this. Let's make this a dining room table dinner conversation. I know it's tough, but we need to. I'm calling you to be a shepherd. I'm calling you to lead in whatever way that looks for you. When I was left for dead in a motel in Detroit, I found myself at age 16 with no shoes on, no money, not even a penny, no identification. I was in soaking wet pajamas. I had no idea where I was. I was lost. But I believe that God always sends you an angel in a moment like this. I walked out of that motel room, and I walked into this 24-hour diner. It was attached to this nasty motel in Detroit. And I just stood there. I had nothing. It didn't matter that we had 5 bathrooms in our house or that we had gone to Disney World the year before. I had nothing. You remember Grace, that despair? That was me. But my angel came in the form of somebody I would never have crossed paths with. An old waitress, a black lady, pouring coffee to homeless men in the inner city Detroit. She took one look at me and she knew. She knew the signs of a kid in trouble. She didn't ignore me. She didn't pass me by. She said something to me. She said something to me that nobody ever said. No coach, no teacher, no neighbor, no parent, no friend. She said, "Can I help you?" How simple is that? Can I help you? And she saved my life that day. I'm calling you to become an angel whenever you can. So can we pray? Let's take a moment to pray for everybody, please. I know this is really, really tough. Lord Jesus, I just ask you to pray for all these families out here, to pray for all these children, these victims, these lost sheep. I'd like to really pray for the fathers and the sons and the brothers and uncles in Ukraine that have been separated from their family. Their children are now not with them, and they can no longer protect them. That must be horrible, Jesus. Please protect them. Please protect the single moms now that are with their children and away from their husbands. The wolf has separated them. And we're asking you, Lord, to be there with them, to bring them shepherds to help them through this. We want to pray for all the survivors that are out there, especially during our retreat. A lot of times we get attacked when we hold these amazing events, these outreaches and retreats. And we ask you, Lord, to put a protection, just a bubble of protection around these survivors and the volunteers that come to the outreaches and come to the retreats. I ask you, Lord, to hold each and every one of us accountable. Help us to make each other accountable. If you're struggling with pornography, if you're struggling with addiction, talk to somebody, find somebody to tell, so that you can no longer be a part of this demand. If you're being threatened or manipulated by somebody to do something you don't want to do, find somebody to talk to. Lord, please bless these people so that they have the courage to find somebody to talk to, so that we can finally end this and just reach out for help. Lord, I ask you to bless our law enforcement, our judges, and our prosecutors to have higher standards, to hold people accountable, and so that we can finally end this demand. I ask, Lord, that you lead the people here to identify if they are an angel or a protector or a shepherd. Help us, Lord, and I just thank you in all of this in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I invite you guys to stand and sing with us.
guys for coming out today. It has been, obviously I'm a crier, so it hits a place in me. And I think it's a very important topic and it needs to be discussed. And so I'm just grateful for all of you taking the time out of your Sunday to come and listen to her and her story. And I know we just want to thank Teresa for being here.
Can we give her another round of applause?
Yeah.
All the amazing work that you do, Teresa. You inspire Jade and I every single time we're around you, and that you're part of this community.
Absolutely, and we love you so much. Let me collect myself. I'm a hot mess. You can help us fight human trafficking by joining us for Soap Up the Derby. That is an outreach that we hosted last year, and it's been amazing just to see the people turn out for that. You can go to the CrossPoint Now app and sign up there. And there's actually a tab that says Soap Project. You'll be able to sign up as an individual if you would like to stay back and just label soaps that would go out to the hotels, or if you want to drive and be a part of that outreach. I highly recommend it because that's where you see it. You know, the hotel owners, they'll tell you, we've seen somebody like that. It is an amazing experience. Right now, I've been told that the entire men's group has decided and signed up to go to Soap Up the Derby. So can we just give the men a round of applause, because that's amazing. It's awesome to see men want to step up to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I would challenge you, if you're in a small group, go back to your small group and say, you know what, we can do this as a group. We can go to the weekend before the Derby, which is April 30th. We're going to be partnering with a church there called Farmdale Nazarene. And we're going to be coming together on April 30th, 10 a.m. to put all the materials together to get more training from Teresa and her team. And then also go out into Louisville and the surrounding area and take these materials, talk to hotel and motel staff, and let them know what's going on, what to look for, so that they can be that angel that Teresa said, that person that can look at someone and say, I know what's going on. I can ask you the right question. So we can do this, CrossPoint. You can join us.
Absolutely.
Go on the app today. Go on today and register and let us know that you're coming on April 30th to help us in Louisville.
Yeah, it's such a great thing to be a part of, and just the feeling that you get from being there and hearing people talk about it. Like Teresa had mentioned, there is a giving tree out here, and we didn't know about it at first service. So I'm definitely challenging all of you to go out there. It's got a QR code. All of your smartphones, it picks it up. Just donate something. Those women have been through enough, and I think as a church, that's been our mission, is to be for everyone.
Yep.
And I, with no doubt, have already pushed you guys up and told Teresa I have no doubt that you guys would be able to do that. If you need somebody to pray with you, there is going to be somebody in the back by the cross if you need that, and that is there. And we just want to say thank you.
Yeah,
for coming
thanks for
out.
being with us this morning.